Hi everybody, I'm back with a video. I know that it's been a very long time since I've made a video. I don't know, I just got kind of lazy during summer and had a lot going on, so I really wasn't prioritizing making videos, but I would like to get back into making some videos because I do have things I want to share with you guys, and I want to update you on how I'm doing and share some information with you guys. It's Interstitial Cystitis Awareness Month, so I've been trying to get back into things, especially this month, so we'll see how that goes. For today's video, I kind of wanted to share kind of how my perspective on life has changed since I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. For those of you who don't know what interstitial cystitis is, it is a bladder condition where the bladder lining has worn thin, it can have cracks, inflammation, ulcers. Feels like a chronic bladder infection, but you'll test negative for having an infection. So you don't have an infection, but it feels like a bladder infection from Hades. So I was diagnosed about 3 years ago, and in the beginning, it was very hard, and I felt like IC stole so many things from me, from not only what I ate, but how I functioned, how I worked out, how I traveled, how I worked at my job, how I slept. Everything was affected, and I remember in the beginning just having these thoughts of, is this how my life is going to be now? Is this really how things are going to be? And I would just feel overwhelmed by that thought, and I would just have to force myself to stop thinking it and just take it one day at a time and accept 1 minute for what it was, whether I felt good that minute or bad that minute, because I kind of felt like things changed a lot as well. 1 hour I felt like maybe my symptoms were acting up, and then the next hour they settled down, and I was kind of confused, like, is this how it's always going to be? Am I ever going to get to where I feel a consistent way at all, to what I think is now my baseline? So I just felt like hopeless and I guess you could say depressed about the condition that my life was in, and wondering how it was going to be over the course of the next few years. And it's still hard, and every day is a struggle, and I don't feel like I am healed or cured. I do feel 80% better, I would say, to how I felt, maybe even closer to 90% at some times, at some moments. And I'm having way more good days than bad days, and I'm able to work, and I work out, and there are things that I've added back in that I can eat that I would have never dared try in the beginning. While IC did steal a lot for me, and I still sometimes mourn those things, you know, pumpkin spice lattes, warm coffee, pizza. Oh my gosh, pizza is so hard. There are a lot of things that I have also learned, and that being diagnosed with a condition like interstitial cystitis has given me. Things that I didn't really think about or appreciate before. One of those things is just I eat so much healthier now. I eat more fresh, organic, raw foods. I don't eat processed foods with a lot of preservatives and chemicals. I've learned a lot more about healthy eating and how food digests and affects our bodies, and some of those things I've been able to share with my friends and family, and they've implemented some healthier eating habits into their life as well. So I think that's a positive thing. Yes, it's hard at times to not be able to eat certain things, but I think there's also a positive side. I've also learned to not take anything for granted, even the small things. I think I knew the bigger things, you know, that I have a roof over my head and food and a car, but I've learned to appreciate every little thing, for the things that my body can still do, for the people in my life who turned out to be very supportive, for the food that I am able to eat, for clothing, just those things in my life that were just small, you know, walking on 2 legs, the fact that I do get a couple hours of sleep at night before I wake up to pee or whatever. I've learned to appreciate all those little things. Hugs. I just love hugs now. I was never really a touchy-feely hugger before, but I've really learned just like what a physical embrace can do for your mood. I've really started to appreciate reading more and just sitting in the stillness and the quiet when my body needs that. I've learned to appreciate that, where before I was go, go, go. If I wasn't doing one thing, I was bored and I needed to move on to the next thing. I would be the person who would get home from vacation and be like, okay, I'm bored. But I've really learned to enjoy being in one place and appreciating the calmness, the stillness, and the solitude sometimes that I need when I'm not feeling well. Sometimes I need people around when I don't feel well. Sometimes I just want to be by myself. So I've really learned to appreciate both those things. I think I've also learned not just what the small stuff. I realized that there are so many other things way worse than, losing my keys or spilling something in the kitchen or whatever those little irritations and annoyances may be. I have learned to just let them go because there are far worse things in life going on for people than all this little junk that we let get to us. And I'm constantly telling that to my husband and other people around me. If they get upset about little things, I'm constantly saying, hey, you let it go. There are far worse things in life than whatever that just happened. So I've definitely learned that. In some ways, I want to be honest and say this made me a little less compassionate, because sometimes I hear people complaining about little things that I just roll my eyes at, and I'm like, God forbid you ever encounter something that's actually really hard, because that thing that you're going through right now will pale in comparison to having a health condition or whatever. So I've definitely learned to kind of not sweat the small stuff a lot better, because I was definitely one of those people. I would just stress about everything. I've also learned to find pleasure in some unlikely places that I never did before. I do not like to cook, but I do find a pleasure in making a meal that is icy friendly that I know is going to taste good. Or making a meal like my no-mayo sauce and putting that on a icy friendly pizza. I find pleasure in that now because I know it's going to nourish my body and not make me feel worse. I have to get my dog. He's crying. So here's my puppy. Say hi, Giorgio. Say hi. He was sad, so he was just sitting on the bed, so I had to get him. Also kind of began to take pleasure in, shopping for those healthy foods, shopping for things that maybe I've never tried before, and I get excited to take this new food item home and give it a try, or cook a new recipe or try to tweak it to make it icy friendly. Still don't like cooking, but I guess maybe I'm more excited to eat it and to try it and find something else I can eat. I also appreciate riding in the car. It sounds weird, but my husband and I like to go for drives sometimes, and I actually kind of always like to go for drives, but I appreciate the fact that I can go for a certain amount of times in a car now without having to go to the bathroom, and I appreciate that so much. I find pleasure in just rolling the windows down, turning on my favorite song, singing, being silly, take my dog for a car ride. I really just enjoy those simple little pleasures in life now. Playing with my puppy, my nieces and nephews, those things are just infinitely more important to me than anything I've ever done in my life. They're far more pleasurable and worthwhile than any of the vacations and accomplishments that I've had in my past. Those things mean the world to me now, because they're the things that get me through even the hardest of days. When I'm feeling hopeless or I don't feel well, those are things that get me through. So I place so much more value on those things in my life now than I ever did before. I recently just bought a hammock, and I love it. I'm in it probably like every day, and I just sit out there and I'll read, or I'll just play with my puppy, or kind of nap. So that's just another thing, that just slowing down and appreciating each moment. And I listen to the sounds, the birds. I've noticed that squirrels make a noise, like weird noises, and like when they eat they'll make noises. It's crazy. And the cool breezes that blow through, and the sounds of my neighborhood. I really just take it all in and try to be grateful that I can smell that, hear that, see that, feel that on my skin, where before I was just kind of maybe ignoring the things around me. Maybe I was on my phone. I wasn't really noticing each of those individual senses. I've learned a lot through this experience, and I have become more compassionate, And I do see more when other people are suffering, and I feel more for them than I did before, and I feel more connected to them, and I'm more likely to know what to say or to do, because I've gone through it where before I've maybe felt awkward or didn't know what to say or to do, or I would say the wrong thing. I'm learning to connect with people more because of it, and to be more open and honest. So I don't know, those are just some of the things I've been thinking about, and things I like to think about when I do feel like I see a stole in my life. There are things that it has given me, and lessons that I've learned, and things that I do not take for granted, and things that I find so much pleasure in now that I didn't know I could before. So I really recommend just kind of slowing down and noticing in every moment, what do you appreciate about that moment? If you're just laying on your couch watching TV, what feels good about that moment? Even if maybe your bladder doesn't feel well, what feels good? Can you take a deep breath and relax your muscles? Can you open the window and smell the fall air coming in? Can you go outside and let the sun shine on your face for a few minutes? You have a puppy or a kitty that you can just love and snuggle, that maybe if you were feeling better, you wouldn't be home appreciating that, because maybe you'd be out doing something else. It's okay sometimes to vent or to cry or whatever about your bladder or however you're feeling. I still do that sometimes, so don't feel guilty if you're like, I don't feel appreciative of anything right now. That's okay. It's taken me some time to get to a point where I've found things that I appreciate and am grateful for and happy for, because kind of in the beginning, sometimes you're like, I hate everything. I can't even find anything pleasurable because I'm so distracted by how I feel. Nothing felt good. Nothing sounded good, smelled good, looked good. But I think over time, and once you kind of accept things and find things that kind of help alleviate some of your symptoms, it becomes a little bit easier to put things in perspective and see the good things still going on in your life. There's one thing that I've learned, is anything can be taken from you in an instant. And never compare yourself to how other people are doing, whether it's other people with IC or people who are healthy. That will just destroy you. That does nothing for you except for make things worse. But I better let you guys go because this video is long, and I always say I'm not going to make a long video, but I like to talk too much. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. I'm going to do another video hopefully within the next week or so. I at least want to put out a couple videos this month, so stay tuned. I will let you guys know as soon as I do. Bye!